The Wilderness Society, with help from the Southern Rockies Ecosystem Project, created this video to inform you about the threat habitat fragmentation caused by unmanaged recreational off-road vehicle abuse poses to backcountry hunting opportunities in southern Idaho. The state of Idaho is home to almost 34 million acres of federal land. Some of the nation's most iconic wilderness areas, including the Selway Bitterroot, the Frank Church River of No Return, and the Sawtooth Wilderness areas, are found on public lands in Idaho. While the majority of public land in Idaho is managed by the U.S. Forest Service, Idaho is also home to almost 12 million acres of deep canyons, high desert, and sagebrush steppe administered by the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. This video focuses on BLM land in the Jarbidge Field Office in southern Idaho. The Jarbidge Field Office consists of a mixture of BLM, Department of Defense, state, and privately owned land. Within the boundaries of the field office, 1.4 million acres, 75% of the total area, is managed by the BLM. The BLM's Jarbidge Field Office manages portions of Elmore, Owayhee, and Twin Falls counties. In addition to these areas in Idaho, a small portion of Elko County, Nevada, is also managed by the Jarbidge Field Office. The Jarbidge Field Office's largest neighboring city, Twin Falls, is growing at a rate of almost 8% a year, due to a number of factors including a strong economy, pleasant weather, affordable housing, and a low cost of living. Unfortunately, as the population of Twin Falls increases, damage caused by off-road vehicle use in the Jarbidge Field Office is also increasing. As we move west from Twin Falls and return to the Jarbidge Field Office, we see a diverse and varied landscape. The northern portion of the field office is a dry, high desert plain which slopes to the Sawtooth Mountains north of the field office. This area has been severely impacted by unmanaged off-road vehicle use due to its proximity to Twin Falls. As we move south, passing ranches, sagebrush-covered plateaus, and intermittent streambeds, the geologic diversity of the field office comes into view. The BLM's Jarbidge Field Office sits immediately north of the Jarbidge Wilderness in Nevada. Nevada's first designated wilderness area, the Jarbidge remains Nevada's least visited protected area. Receiving 7 to 8 feet of snow most winters, each spring the Jarbidge Wilderness provides massive snowmelt to the Bruneau and Jarbidge rivers, allowing kayakers and rafters to enjoy some of the best Class 5 whitewater in Idaho. The southwestern portion of the Jarbidge Field Office is also part of Idaho's famed canyon country, including spectacular wild areas which have been proposed for wilderness designation as part of the Owayhee Initiative. Located between the Jarbidge Wilderness in northwestern Nevada and the proposed wilderness in southwestern Idaho, the southern portion of the BLM's Jarbidge Field Office serves as an important wildlife corridor. This portion of the Jarbidge Field Office can be divided into two extremely important but ecologically unique areas. The first, located in the southeast portion of the field office, is known as the Jarbidge Foothills. The Jarbidge Foothills have been identified by the Idaho Fish and Game Department as a big buck unit for mule deer, but is also home to pronghorn, elk, sage grouse, as well as a number of non-game species. The southwest portion of the field office is likewise ecologically vibrant. Known as the Canyonlands, the deep gorges, cliffs, and high plateaus created by the Jarbidge and Bruneau rivers provide prime bighorn sheep habitat. In fact, the river corridors and corresponding cliffs are currently designated as an Area of Critical Environmental Concern, or ACEC, for the protection of bighorn sheep and their habitat. This area has also been recognized for its wilderness qualities. Much of the area is currently protected as Wilderness Study Areas, or WSAs. While some of the WSA areas are proposed for release as part of the Owayhee Initiative, the heart of this wild area will receive permanent and lasting protection as designated wilderness if the Owayhee Initiative is successful. Unfortunately, despite the amazing wildlife habitat and wild qualities of these two areas, they are currently suffering the impacts of unmanaged recreational off-road vehicle use. Using a route inventory completed by the BLM over the past few years, together with information from recent aerial photographs, we can begin to quantify the damage off-road vehicles are causing. As we zoom in and work our way across the area, the proliferation of off-road vehicle routes becomes more obvious. While some of these routes are legitimate and are needed for stock pond and private in-holding access, many of the routes and trails were created by ATVs and dirt bikes. While the Jarbidge foothills and canyonlands make up only 25% of the total land area within the field office, these areas encompass 53% of the key sage-grouse habitat, 78% of the crucial habitat for mule deer, and 100% of the crucial bighorn sheep habitat within the Jarbidge field office. Habitat fragmentation caused by roads is widely recognized as having harmful impacts on wildlife. A study published in 2005 by the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish found that as large, contiguous blocks of wildlife habitat are broken into smaller and smaller areas by roads, wildlife are displaced, invasive weeds and other exotic species are allowed to prosper, cover vital to wildlife survival is diminished, and wildlife become more stressed. Perhaps most troubling, this report found that roads lead to an increase in unethical hunting practices. Another study, published in the Natural Areas Journal in 1987, identified habitat fragmentation caused by roads and other human infrastructure as the single greatest threat to biological diversity worldwide. Route density and distance to route are two widely recognized methods of quantifying habitat fragmentation. Were we to look at a square with sides of 1 mile, route density would be the value given to the mileage of routes within the square. Because no route is found within this square, the route density is 0 miles per square mile. But when routes, represented here as red lines, are added within the square, the route density increases. As the density increases from 1 to 1.5 to 2 miles per square mile, notice how the square is divided into smaller areas. Fractionalization of contiguous habitats such as this has a negative impact on wildlife and correspondingly hunting opportunities. As this route density map shows, the Jarbidge foothills and canyonlands areas are highly fragmented. It is also important to note that this analysis does not consider pipelines or fences, additional fragmenting features, which are not immediately adjacent to a road. Thus, the habitat fragmentation displayed in this map is a conservative representation of the true fragmentation of the area. To illustrate the impacts of habitat fragmentation, let's zoom in on the Jarbidge foothills. While the route density is not uniform throughout the area, the route density average is 2.2 miles per square mile. Only 20% of the Jarbidge foothills has a route density below 1 mile per square mile, the density which a BLM study conducted in the Pinedale, Wyoming area found causes stress in pronghorn. The second method of calculating habitat fragmentation is distance to route. This calculation gives a value for the distance any given point, such as that shown in this schematic, is from a route. These values can then be summarized to quantify the habitat fragmentation. As we zoom in on the Canyonlands area, we notice it is less fragmented than the Jarbidge foothills. This is due largely to the extreme terrain and the fact that much of the area is currently protected as a wilderness study area. However, 95% of the area is still within 1 mile of a route. Approximately 40% of the area is within 0.22 miles of a route, the distance which a 2001 study published in the Journal of Wildlife Management found bighorn sheep were alerted to human presence. Habitat fragmentation can greatly impact the success of those lucky enough to draw a bighorn sheep permit in this area. Habitat fragmentation's impacts on hunting cannot be overstated. As habitat fragmentation increases, mule deer, elk, bighorn sheep, and pronghorn habitats are degraded. Further, as roads and trails slice into once intact landscapes, motorized hunters are able to access areas once used only by those seeking to get away from crowds. While some level of motorized access, such as that needed to reach hiking trails and campgrounds, is necessary, backcountry hunting access is not synonymous with recreational off-road vehicle use. To underscore this point, the Idaho Fish and Game Department recently identified the Jarbidge Foothills area, also known as Hunt Unit 47, as a hunt unit with motor vehicle restrictions. This policy, enforceable during hunting hours only, limits motorized vehicle use to roads open to full-size vehicles having 4 or more wheels. This policy specifically states that ATVs and motorcycles, used for the purpose of hunting, are not allowed on single-track trails or user-created two-tracks during these time periods. In an effort to limit the habitat destruction that off-road vehicles are causing in the Jarbidge Field Office, the Wilderness Society, using the Idaho Fish and Game Department's policy as a model, developed a proposal which includes a 195,000-acre Jarbidge Foothills Special Recreation Management Area and a 250,000-acre Canyonlands Special Recreation Management Area. This proposal was submitted to BLM as part of its process of updating its land use plan for the Jarbidge Field Office. The purpose of these recreation areas is to protect backcountry hunting opportunities and wildlife habitat by limiting the use of motorized vehicles to designated routes suitable for travel by full-sized vehicles throughout the year, and closing and rehabilitating user-created routes and trails. We have recommended an average route density of 1 mile per square mile or less for both areas. It is important to note that these management goals and objectives only apply to BLM-administered land and do not infringe in any way on existing valid rights, such as a grazing permittee's ability to access private inholdings or range improvements. Today you have taken a virtual tour of the BLM's Jarbidge Field Office in southern Idaho. We thank you for listening to our concerns with this area's lack of off-road vehicle management and for taking the time to hear our proposed solution to this problem. To help protect the backcountry hunting values of this amazing area, please write the BLM at this address and let them know you support designation of the Wilderness Society's proposed Canyonlands and Jarbidge Foothills Special Recreation Management Areas. To learn more about the Wilderness Society and the work we're doing across the nation to protect clean water, clean air, wild spaces, and important wildlife habitat, please visit us at www.wilderness.org.